Hello, I would like to talk to you briefly about one of the tools we'll be using in the projects. The tool is called Toggl. I will share my screen so you can see an example of this. And here we go. You should now be seeing the window I've got here, which is my Toggl. I also use this to keep track of the work that I do, so I can report it to my line manager appropriately, and it has helped on occasions. You'll need to effectively use this tool for the entirety of the project. It would help if you would have this tool installed before you start Capstone, and it's right at the start of the first week, if not earlier. And this applies equally whether you're doing the industry version, so work 3008, or whether you're doing one of the Capstone units, because you need to report on your time management. This is a free tool. It's web-based. You can also download the app for your mobile device if you prefer. I just want to go through some of the details with you. In general, once you've signed up, there is ability to use this in groups, but for free, it's a maximum of 5 people in a group. So I just use it individually. I am actually paying for Toggl myself now, so I could do more, but that's beside the point. What you will have is your Toggl screen, and right at the top is your current task. So I'm currently doing work as the Capstone unit coordinator, and I flagged that to be part of my teaching project. In my case, I'm also using that as a binary to show that I'm working from home in the office, but you won't have access to that if things are free. The main thing is you should be tracking everything you're doing. If you're doing work for Capstone at home, meeting with a client, attending a lecture, whatever, you should be tracking that. You should have a decent description of what you're doing, and you should then have a useful grouping. Don't have all of the grouping be Capstone because you're using this for Capstone. You could have, for example, meetings be the difference be coding or research, or those sort of categories. The very important thing is I want to make sure that your categories allow your supervisor, when they're looking at this, to effectively differentiate between billable work and non-billable work. And that's what this little thing does officially. You won't get to use it, so your categories will have to do that. This is a standard thing that's used in the industry. I've talked to some students who have to actually do this as part of their job, especially in cybersecurity. And what does that mean? Well, if you're talking to a client, if you're working on a client project, if you're doing something directly that's making money for your company, that is billable work. So in your case, if you're doing research that's directly related to what you're doing, if you're talking with each other in a meeting about the working on the SRS, if you're meeting with a client, that is all billable work. If you are doing individual research for something you might need later, but that isn't directly a task that you've been given by your group, if you are educating yourself, so for example, attending a lecture, if you're in a meeting that isn't with the client, so for example, if you're having a team meeting that isn't a workshop, you're not brainstorming something, you're just doing a daily stand-up or you're doing a sprint retrospective, those meetings are not billable. They are useful, but they are not contributing as directly to the product. Now, if you're having very short stand-ups, you might consider those billable as long as they are very much on time and on track. Have a chat with your supervisor about that. The main point is that it is useful to know how many of your hours are billable and how many are not. You really should be aiming to have at least 70%, preferably far higher, of your hours be billable. So the next thing you do is when you're tracking all that, when you want to report on that for your individual reports, you can click on reports. That then tells you how much reporting you want to do. You can decide where you want. Let's say that I want to do the last 2 weeks. I can tell it to do that. I can tell it to do the months, whatever. I can hide weekend, but why would I? I mean, I work on weekends just like you probably will for your project. So that then gives me a bar graph report, and you can see that it is not evenly balanced. There are times when I haven't done a lot of work. I do a lot less work on weekends for some reason. But during the week, normally it's relatively well balanced. That is another thing we'll be looking at, because what we don't want is you doing nothing, 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 then you're putting in 18 hours in one day. That is not a good work practice. So if you do that, we will have a chat to you about it. There's also a list here of the individual things you've done, and there's a couple of bar graphs. You can download that as a report, and you'll be downloading it as a PDF. That PDF can then go directly into your report. And that is how I would like you to use the Toggl for this project unit. When you're doing the report, make sure it's this report here. Make sure you're not hiding information like, the details down here, because that is all something we need. There is a detailed report as well. That is probably too detailed. It doesn't have the nice graphs. Part of this unit is about communication. Having graphics is a wonderful way to communicate, and you should always be striving to use graphical communication of information where it is appropriate. So you want to be using this report. If you also want to append the detailed report, great, but you're not required to do that. If you want to know more about that, if you go onto the Blackboard, and this is my view, so don't get confused by the left-hand side, but as part of the details, there are milestone specifications. You'll also find that in the weekly topics under SRS and reporting, so we'll cover this in the first week. And if you click on, well, that will take you here. The milestone specifications will be a document. It's up to version 5 at this point. It'll probably be a higher version later. It has bookmarks. The first appendix is a write-up on using Toggl, and it also contains a link to Toggl. So it's just toggl.com. There are other tools, but those tools may not meet our requirements. So please start off using Toggl. If you want to use another tool, discuss it with your supervisor. Your supervisor should then discuss that with their project lead and with myself. If it's accepted, you will get acceptance in writing. Until you have acceptance in writing, please use Toggl. Anyway, I hope this helps. Most people don't really want to read through the whole appendix, so I thought a video might be useful. Enjoy.